Now that we know Rose has a good understanding of hold, it's time for phase 2. We're still using the ramps and the table, but we're not tying her up. We're having her sit remote. During this phase, we move to heavier objects. This is to simulate holding a mallard, a pheasant, or a goose. We're still giving her pets under the chin and a lot of verbal praise for a nice head tilt. We're also working on holding her focus. We want her to know how to hold a heavier object. We're also still continuing to use smaller dowels. The purpose of this is we want to create movement with that object to show her how to readjust her hold if she has to. Simulating coming in with a bird and that thing starts slipping, we want her to know how to adjust without either dropping it or crushing it. The biggest key is giving her light taps on the end of this dowel. And again, light taps, not hard. We don't want to knock the object from her mouth. We just want her to learn how to adjust when it starts to move. Once we see that she understands this very well, our next big step is moving to the ground. And as you can see, she has a good focus on the handler and a good head tilt, presenting the delivery. Here, we want to give a lot of pets across the top of the head and around the back of the neck to reinforce the behavior the dog is giving us. Once we see that she adjusts to this well, we start moving it to different environments, and we also start using different objects. So from a wooden dowel to a bumper like you see, to a docking, and finally a bird. That's going to be our last step before we move into the retrieve. During this phase of training, another skill set that we work on is what we call steadiness. Pitching birds out, having the dog sit to a whistle and sit to the flush. As you can see here, the handler is going to place out 2 bumpers. Each bumper that he throws, the peep of the whistle, the flush of the bumper, and the stop walking of the handler is what teaches the dog to sit. During this phase, big key we're teaching is a 40-60 rule. 40% they pick up, 60% is picked up by the handler or another dog. This is to show the dog that everything that falls or everything that is thrown is not for them to go get. As the handler is walking out and picking those birds up, you can see that he's holding his hand up. That is giving the dog a target or a focal point. Down the road, we're going to be teaching handling, so that's going to be a big key for the dog to pay attention to that hand because it's going to show direction. Another factor of this is being able to walk around the dog in a circle, and as you can see, we're starting quarter circles with her. Another phase that we're going to get into is a dog making a retrieve beside her. So we want to move and be able to hold the focus so that we can continue the steadiness of the dog. When she does very well, we give her a pet. Now the next phase to this is adding birds, another distraction. So before hitting the field on live birds, we want to teach the dog in a pen how to walk calmly at heel and steady at heel as birds are flushing. Another step is sitting remotely from the handler and continuing to be steady as birds flush around her. So as you can see, the handler has the dog sit, then he's going to slowly back away, dropping the lead. And as he's holding the focus of the dog, he has a helper flush the birds around her. That way, if the dog decides to move, the handler can make the adjustment and set the dog back down. Another big key to this later down the road is going to be making a retrieve in this bird pen, asking her to stay on the original retrieve as other birds are flushing. This is to simulate what she might see in upland hunting. We may shoot that rooster down, send the dog for the retrieve, and as she's going for it, 3 or 4 more flush up. We want the dog to stay on the retrieve and not chase the flying birds. As you can see, Rose does very well with all these flushing birds around. She loves it, but she knows to stay steady. Another big factor in this phase of training is to continue working socialization. Socialization is a big key for every dog to mature and continue building personality. So it's a constant work from 8 weeks to 2 years. Everything with public access to meeting new people and new places.